Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? This is a truth alert, all right, guys? So when you hear truth alert, some of you guys that don't want to hear the truth, this is your opportunity to stop the video because I know a lot of you guys don't like to hear the truth, and some of you guys do. So let's get into it. Are the Cubans the most feared fighters in the sport of boxing today? This is the second or third edition of this video that I've done. I remember when I made a video a while ago. I don't remember how long ago, a couple months back, where I said it was after Donaire it was after Rigo beat Donaire, and the video was titled, "Is Guillermo the New Boogeyman?" Now, and of course, as always, about 80% of the people who watched the video, they agree with my assessment on the matter. And there's always that small percentage of people who send the hate, messages, and, they basically defend all of the duckers, etc., right? Telling me all this ridiculous stuff. Why would they be afraid of Rigo? He's a pussy and he's this, he's nobody, and etc., right? Saying the most ridiculous stuff, just basically making it up as they go. But as always, almost all the time, like I said, I'm not always right, but the majority of times, I have told you guys how some stuff was playing out when it comes to certain fighters that don't want to fight other fighters. When it comes to situations like that, at least 8 times out of 10, I have been dead on the money, okay? And I'll say some stuff, and later on, everything that I basically said, it will come to fruition. And people will start regurgitating everything that I was saying almost word for word. Okay? Now, for the people who didn't believe me when I said the Cubans were the most feared fighters, if you don't want to hear it from me, let's hear it from Abner Maris's mouth. What did Abner Maris just say in a recent interview? You know what he said, guys? Abner Maris said, "Everyone is afraid of Guillermo Rigo, but I'm not." End quote. This is exactly what Abner Maris said when it comes to Rigo. Even though he was one of the main people ducking Guillermo Rigo, but now, of course, Abner Maris, he's a one-time loser, so he feels he has nothing to lose if he possibly gets in the ring with Rigo now. Or he could have been just saying that as a bluff. But the fact of the matter is, he admitted that everyone is afraid of Guillermo Rigo. Now, if Abner Maris ain't enough, now you got Leo Santa Cruz saying the same thing, basically. He just said in an article a couple days ago, and it's interesting, it's good to know that what we say on YouTube and everyone says in blogs, it's really getting to these fighters. And of course, Twitter is probably one of the main, ways to connect to boxers today. But it was interesting because Leo Santa Cruz, he said something that surprised me. He said, a lot of people think that I'm afraid of Guillermo Rigo. It's okay if they think I'm afraid of him, but I'm not afraid of him. My dad doesn't want me to fight him. And that's the only reason I'm not fighting him. If it was up to me, I would fight him. But I got to do what my father says, etc., etc. You guys can go read that on Boxing Scene. It's one of the most recent articles right now. So if you didn't want to believe me when I said it, all you have to do is listen to Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Maris, the guys that you were defending. Okay? And this is something I never understood. Whenever a fighter ducks someone and, certain fans want to defend him, why do people always start making excuses that the fighter didn't even make? They'll start saying, oh, he doesn't want to fight him because he doesn't like how he fights and he doesn't like this and he doesn't like that. The dude never even said that. You're just making all different type of excuses for the guy. Stick with the facts. Stick with what's said. All right? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes people don't say anything at all, and that's an admission within itself. But when someone makes an excuse and then you start making other excuses that person never even co-signed to, then you are obviously exposing yourself as just somewhat of a cheerleading fan, you don't really care if he's right or wrong. You're just going to support him because that's your guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you would admit that you're that type of person, instead of making it seem like you're talking boxing, then it would save us a lot of time debating for no reason, when we know no matter what makes sense, you're just going to root for your own guy, regardless if you know he dead wrong. Just like I told you, when Joel Diaz was training Bradley to fight Marquez, and I told you guys, Joel Diaz is one of his associates. He bet Joel $5,000 that Marquez would beat his fighter. Joel said, let's do it. You know, once Joel won the bet, the guy came back. He paid Joel the $5,000, and then he said to Joel, he said, I just don't understand, man. How could you go against the Mexican fighter? I just don't understand. How could you go against the Mexican fighter? This guy didn't care that Tim Bradley was Joel Diaz's main source of income. He didn't care that Joel had been training Tim Bradley damn near since he was a kid. He didn't care that Joel was close to Tim Bradley and his family because they've been knowing each other for so long. He didn't care anything about that. All he cared about was race, country, and pride. And the way that guy thinks is the same way a lot of people on YouTube think. They think just like that. They try to make it seem like it's all about boxing, but it's really not about boxing. It's about race, country, and pride for a lot of these people, okay? And it's nothing wrong with people making it about that, but just admit it. Like I said, just admit it so we don't have to waste time debating on things that we shouldn't be debating about, that you know better than from the get-go, okay? So back to the Cuban fighters. Now, you know, outside of the American fighters, I would say the hottest fighters right now are the Cuban fighters and the former Soviet Union fighters. Then following them, you have the Mexican fighters. All right? But the Cuban fighters are so hot right now that it's funny because word throughout the boxing community was Bob Arum, he wanted to put Lomachenko in the ring with Guillermo Rigo. And a lot of people believe that Bob Arum was basically trying to find someone who could compete and possibly beat Rigo. And he was thinking that might be Lomachenko, right? And, you know, as good as Lomachenko is, he has the same type of amateur pedigree as Guillermo. Matter of fact, he's fighting for a world title after 2 fights, which is another contradiction I'm going to talk about when some of these extremely biased fans make excuses for why Johnny Gonzalez should duck fighting Gary Russell for the title. Then they're going to sit here and say, Gary Russell, what has he done? He doesn't deserve to fight for a title. But these same biased fans, they didn't complain at all when they found out that Lomachenko was fighting Salido for a title after 2 fights. You know why? Because it's all about race, country, and pride. They don't care if someone like Lomachenko is fighting for a title, if someone like Salido, if someone like Canelo. How did Canelo get his title? Canelo didn't deserve a title either, but they didn't care because it's about race, country, and pride. But all of a sudden they care when Gary Russell is fighting for a title. You follow me? These type of fans, once again, these are the same type people that Joel Diaz was betting $5,000 against. And for that guy who bet Joel Diaz $5,000, for the sake of this video, we're going to call him Exhibit A because I'll be talking about Exhibit A throughout this video. So anyway, before I get sidetracked, Lomachenko is what I was talking about. The point is, Lomachenko is a beast. He's a tough beast. He was supposed to be the guy to put fear into Guillermo Rigo. You know what? When they asked Rigo, what do you think about fighting Lomachenko? And, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I thought he was going to say something like, well, you know, he's not ready for me and we're not thinking about that fight right now. I thought he was going to make some kind of ridiculous excuse. But Rigo said, no, bring them on. Anybody. Okay? This man, Rigo, is fearless. And you know what Lomachenko and Team Lomachenko said when they asked him about Guillermo Rigo after everyone was thinking that Lomachenko was going to be the one to beat Rigo or Rigo was going to duck Lomachenko? You know what Lomachenko's people said? They said it's a little too premature to be talking about a fight with Rigo right now. You feel me? The truth comes out, man. the truth comes out. The Cubans are the most feared fighters right now. Okay? They are the most feared fighters right now. Lomachenko is on the fast track. He's already fighting for a title in his second fight, but he don't want to fight against Guillermo Rigo for a title, right? Because Lomachenko, he ain't no damn fool. He knows that Rigo is on another level, just like all the other fighters that's scared of him know. Like I said, Canelo Álvarez, he just made a ridiculous admission. It made himself look really bad. Once again, I always say, you know, talking like a dumbass fan will really get a boxer in trouble. Because a dumb fan, he can say dumb stuff. He remains anonymous. No one knows who he is. So, you know, you can't really point the finger at him at the end of the day. When it's time for him to look stupid, he's nowhere to be found, right? You can't take a picture of his stupid ass face once he looks dumb, right? But when it comes to the fighter, guess what? We know who he is. We know how he looks. We can locate him. We could take pictures of him. We can interview him. We could go back to old interviews and show that he contradicted himself. All right? Canelo Álvarez, he just made a ridiculous admission when he did his recent interview. And, you know, I give props to the guy who interviewed him. I don't know his name, but basically the guy put Canelo on blast. And he said to him, when he was interviewing him about the Angulo fight, he said, okay, Canelo, Erislandy Lara is considered the best 154-pounder in the division. What do you say to the people who ask you why you're not fighting against Lara? And you know what Canelo said? Canelo said that we want to fight a guy who doesn't run around the ring. That made Canelo Álvarez really look bad. It made him look like he had no confidence in himself. It made it look like he was weak-minded. It made him look like he did not have any type of adversity. It proves that he is one-dimensional, which overall tells you that he is not a complete fighter. You know, there's so many things to say when it comes to that's the statement that Canelo Álvarez made when it comes to him ducking Erislandy Lara. The first thing I want to say is this is strange because usually the guy that's ducking is the one who already has the belt. The guy who's already been defending the belt, you know, maybe a couple times, and he's ducking some young up-and-comer, right? But in Canelo's situation, he's ducking the guy who has the belt. This guy is willing to give Canelo a title shot, and Canelo doesn't even want to fight for the title. So he instead decides to fight against the guy that the champion already beat. Now, how crazy is that? Let me give you guys a perfect analogy. Let's say you have two NBA basketball teams, right? They both make it to the finals, right? They both make it to the finals, and it's all set. We can't wait. Everybody ready to watch the finals, you know, East versus West. And all of a sudden, one of the basketball teams, they say, you know what? We decide we're not going to play against that team for the finals. Matter of fact, we're not even going to play in the finals because we don't like the way they play. Because, you know, all they really do is run around the ring, run around the court, shooting jump shots and trying to look all pretty. You know, we like to go hard to the paint. We like teams that go hard to the paint, take it to the hoop, dunking, slamming in your face, and aggressiveness. You know, those are the type of teams we want to play against. So instead of playing for the championship, we elected to play against the first team that was eliminated in the playoffs. And this is exactly what Canelo is doing. And this is exactly why he is not even pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. But what makes this even more funnier when it comes to Canelo is, once again, he is contradicting himself. Because if you go back and you watch the Austin Trout fight with Canelo, he ran more in the ring and he held more in the ring than Erislandy Lara did. And go back and watch the Leonardo Tyner fight. Canelo ran the entire night, so he's contradicting himself. I have much more to say, but we out of time. I'm going to talk more about Mikey Garcia as well in the next video. I'm on to the next one.